Fake HOA cops tried taking my guns, didn't know I train U.S. Army Ranger units. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone underestimates a warrior's resolve? In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns and white picket fences painted a picture of suburban bliss, a storm was brewing. Karen Mitchell, the self-appointed queen of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, had a reputation that preceded her. With her clipboard always in hand and a purse-lipped scowl that could silence a room, she ruled the neighborhood like a dictator in designer sunglasses. Her latest crusade? A so-called community safety initiative that had residents whispering nervously about their Second Amendment rights. But when Karen and her posse of fake HOA enforcers knocked on the door of Marcus Reed, a retired U.S. Army Ranger and firearms instructor for elite Ranger units, they had no idea they were stepping into a battlefield they couldn't win. Marcus had moved to Willow Creek seeking peace after decades of service. His modest ranch-style home blended into the neighborhood, but his backyard was a fortress of discipline, a private range where he trained active-duty rangers in marksmanship and tactical defense. He kept to himself, mowing his lawn on time and nodding politely at neighbors, but Karen had him in her crosshairs. Rumors had spread, fueled by Karen's gossip at HOA meetings, that Marcus was stockpiling weapons and posed a threat to the community. Never mind that his firearms were legally owned, meticulously maintained, and secured in a state-of-the-art safe. Karen, emboldened by her own sense of righteousness, decided it was her duty to act. It started with a letter, printed on official-looking HOA stationery, demanding Marcus surrender his firearms for inspection to ensure they complied with neighborhood standards. Marcus chuckled, tossing the letter into the trash. He'd faced warlords and insurgents. A nosy neighbor wasn't going to rattle him. But Karen escalated. She hired a group of men posing as HOA security officers to enforce her edict. Dressed in cheap tactical vests bought online, they carried an air of authority that might have fooled a less discerning eye. To Marcus, they looked like mall cops playing dress-up. One crisp Saturday morning, as Marcus cleaned his service pistol in his garage, a black SUV rolled up his driveway. 3 men stepped out, their vests emblazoned with Willow Creek Security. The leader, a stocky man with a buzz cut and a fake badge, strutted forward, holding a clipboard. "Mr. Reed, we're here to collect your firearms per HOA regulations," he barked, his voice dripping with rehearsed bravado. Behind him, Karen stood with her arms crossed, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Marcus set down his pistol, wiped his hands on a rag, and stepped into the sunlight. At 6 feet 2 inches, with the lean build of a man who still ran 5 miles before dawn, he exuded a quiet intensity. "HOA regulations?" he said, his voice low but sharp. "Show me the bylaws that give you the right to take my property." The leader faltered, glancing at Karen, who snapped, "It's for the safety of the children. You can't have an arsenal in a family neighborhood." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, I train the men who protect this country. My arsenal is safer than your gossip." The confrontation drew a crowd. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains or gathered on their lawns, phones in hand, recording the spectacle. The fake security team, sensing resistance, tried to push forward. Buzzcut reached for a pair of zip ties, muttering about detaining non-compliant residents. That's when Marcus's demeanor shifted. He wasn't just a homeowner anymore, was a ranger, calculating every move. "You take one more step," he said, his voice like steel, "and you'll regret it." Enter Sarah Gwynn, a wild card Marcus hadn't anticipated. A young single mother and paralegal who lived across the street, Sarah had been quietly documenting Karen's overreaches for months. She'd grown tired of the HOA's bullying fines for her son's basketball hoop, citations for her slightly faded mailbox. Now, clutching a folder of research, she marched into the fray. "Karen, you have no legal authority to do this," she shouted, holding up a copy of the HOA charter. "There's no clause about firearms, and these men aren't licensed security theory frauds." The crowd gasped. Sarah had checked public records and discovered the security team was a group of unemployed bouncers Karen had hired through a shady online ad. The revelation hit like a grenade. Buzz Cut's bravado crumbled as neighbors began questioning the men's credentials. Karen, red-faced and sputtering, tried to regain control. "This is about safety," she shrieked. "He's dangerous." But Marcus wasn't done. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Within minutes, 2 blacked-out Humvees rolled into the cul-de-sac, carrying a squad of Army Rangers in training. Marcus's students, all in their late 20s and built like linebackers, stepped out, their presence silencing the crowd. "These are the men I train," Marcus said, his voice calm but commanding. "They protect your freedom. You think I'm the threat?" The fake security team froze. Buzz Cut dropped his clipboard, and his partners backed toward the SUV. Karen, now cornered, tried to deflect. "This is a misunderstanding," she stammered. "We just wanted to talk." But the neighbors weren't buying it. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady. "You've been bullying this community for years, Karen. You fabricated rules, hired thugs, and tried to intimidate a veteran. This ends now." The showdown reached its peak as one of the Rangers, a young sergeant named Daniels, spoke up. "Sir," he said to Marcus, "we got your back. Just say the word." Marcus shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "No need, son. They're already done." He turned to the crowd, his voice carrying the weight of years in combat. "I've fought for this country, and I'll keep fighting for my rights. If anyone here thinks they can take what's mine, they'd better come prepared." Karen's empire crumbled in real time. The neighbors, emboldened by Sarah's evidence and Marcus's resolve, turned on her. One man, a retired teacher, shouted, "You're not even an elected board member. You just took over." Another woman, holding her toddler, added, "We're done with your fake rules." The crowd's murmurs grew into a chorus of dissent. Karen, realizing she'd lost control, fled to her car, the fake security team scrambling behind her. The SUV peeled out, leaving a cloud of dust and Karen's reputation in tatters. In the days that followed, the Willow Creek HOA was dismantled. Sarah led a petition to dissolve the board, citing Karen's fraudulent overreach. An investigation revealed Karen had been pocketing HOA dues for personal expenses, including her security hires. The county sheriff's office got involved, and the fake cops faced charges for impersonating officers. Karen, humiliated and facing legal consequences, sold her house and left town, her reign of terror over. Marcus didn't gloat. He went back to his routine training Rangers, tending his garden, and offering Sarah's son free shooting lessons to teach him discipline. The neighborhood rallied around him, some even asking for self-defense tips. At a community barbecue, Marcus stood quietly by the grill, watching kids play and neighbors laugh, a rare peace settling over him. Sarah approached, holding a beer. "You could have ended her in 10 seconds, she said, grinning. Marcus shrugged. "Sometimes, the best fight is the one you don't have to finish." The story of Marcus and Karen spread beyond Willow Creek, a testament to standing firm against tyranny, no matter how petty. It wasn't just about guns, it was about freedom, community, and the courage to call out a bully. Marcus's Rangers, now back at base, still talk about the day their instructor took down a suburban despot without firing a shot. And Sarah? She's running for the new HOA president, promising transparency and a no-nonsense approach. What do you think? Did Marcus and Sarah do the right thing by standing up to Karen's overreach? or should they have handled it differently? Share your thoughts. Where do you draw the line between community rules and personal freedom?